Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We're coming to you from Sonoma for the Toyota Safeway 350. I'm Sean Big Poppa Williams.
I'm Jamie, the Liehr.
And I'm Adrian, Woodruff.
And we'll be bringing you all the action from Sonoma. But first, let's get to Adrian for that track breakdown this week, buddy. What does it look like?
Oh, it's looking good. This is my favorite track on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series circuit. It's just something about road course racing it's exciting. You know, the whole race, all the strategy that goes into it. Usually the pole sitter of this race will jump out and they'll get the lead. And since they have such clean air, they kind of control the race. So it's basically going to be a two-stop race or a three-stop race. And if you're the leader, you pretty much get the two-stop strategy. And it usually has worked for the leader of this, at the pole sitter for this race, over the past few years. But the race will air Sunday, June 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Green flag will probably be about 3:19 for those that don't, want to watch all that pre-race stuff. This weekend we're in Sonoma, California at the Sonoma Raceway. The race is 110 laps in length. This is one of the lowest lap counts you'll see all season. You really got to watch what qualifying is, what's going on with that, because starting position is going to play a lot into this. Place differential is going to make up for a lot of the points since there's not a lot of laps to lead. Our picks are just kind of going to be based on track history because we don't know where the drivers are going to qualify. So, it's hard to make these kind of picks, but since we're having reported early, it's just based on track history and, how we feel about the track. But yeah, let's just get into who we think is going to dominate this weekend or who we think the road course ringers are going to be.
Yeah, just to be clear before we get there, guys, the way this track setup works is traditionally on this race, you want cars near the front. There's not a whole lot of passing, not a lot of track position gained. It's just the standard way road courses work. So with us filming early, make sure to pay attention to qualifying and engage us. We will all update our picks and stuff via comments on the YouTube page, and we'll engage with you. And with that said, let's get into our burning rubber picks. Adrian. Oh, wait, Liehr.
Burning rubber, baby, 2 weeks.
Yeah, had to get the 2 weeks worth out. All right, Adrian, give us your burning rubber pick, buddy.
Man, I forgot that it's been 2 weeks. Wow. My burning rubber pick this week is Jimmie Johnson, guys. He's 10-1. So there's a lot of drivers that are more expensive than he is. And that's pretty good because he has 7 straight top 10 finishes at Sonoma. He's the 2010 Sonoma race winner. Jimmie is just so talented at these road courses, and he's pretty much a lock to finish in the top 5 unless anything happens. And, with this being such a strategy race, having Chad Knaus on the box definitely doesn't hurt his cause. I think managing equipment is the biggest part of Sonoma because you got to take care of your brakes all day long and take care of the transmission because these guys are shifting in, guys and gals are shifting in and out of the corners. So, you really want to pick drivers that know how to manage their equipment. And, the proof is Jimmie Johnson's a 6-time champion. You don't become a 6-time champion without knowing how to manage equipment. That just sticks out to me, the fact that Jimmie Johnson is just a driver that you can trust. And I consider him a free space because there's more drivers that are more expensive. So if you can save, $400 to $500, it helps. So, I just really like Jimmie Johnson this week. I kind of have partly a gut feeling, but what do you guys think?
I love Jimmie Johnson this week. Based off of what he did last year here, he was totally dominating the race for most of the race last year. And unfortunately, with strategy came into play there, and his cat and mouse game on that last caution there. Boyer and Busch and those guys, they ended up pitting where Johnson didn't, and they came back out, and the guys had new tires where Johnson's still on the old ones, and it kind of backfired on him and Knaus. So, depending on where he's going to qualify at, I think he's got a good shot at taking it home. Like you said, he's been top 10 the last 7 races here since 2010. And yeah, his cost is $10,100, but you're obviously getting a guy that has the ability to, obviously win the race. but is going to be a main staple in a lot of people's lineups, I think, just based off of that track history. And, I didn't get a chance to watch any of the practices yet, but, I think he's basically one of those types of drivers that him and Canals, they have such great experience here that, they're going to have that strategy that they've, relied on in the past and be able to pick and choose what's worked for them and what hasn't. So I think he's definitely got a distinct advantage over most of the field in this race on Sunday.
Yeah, guys, I agree with you. I have Jimmy already on several lineups. I liked what they were doing in practice today. He seems comfortable at this track as always. Seems comfortable at practice. Once again, it's going to depend on where he qualifies, but I would honestly expect him to qualify probably top 5 and stay there all day. That's just how he rolls on this track. And like Adrian said it the best, without a pit situation or an equipment malfunction, you're pretty much guaranteed a top 5. I love the pick, and as Liehr's giving you the graphic from the hero card. There you go. All right.
6 championships, baby.
Liehr, who's your burning rubber pick, buddy?
My burning rubber pick this week, boys, is a local Missouri boy. He's got some really good history here at Sonoma, and it is no doubt that, Chip Ganassi Racing, based off of the type of racing that these guys do, they race everywhere. So, with the Indy cars and the Le Mans and everywhere else, I mean, they just have a plethora of knowledge on all these road courses, which obviously I'm sure that they share with their NASCAR team. So my burning rubber pick this week is going to be number 1, J Mac. I think he's got a great shot this week. He was one of the fastest qualifying guys today. But as far as his price, I mean, he's very, very doable with his cost because, I mean, he's been one of those middle tier guys all year, but coming in at 7,800, boys. And I just think he's got a good shot of taking it home this weekend. Obviously, qualifying is going to play a huge part into seeing where he finishes at. But, as far as starting, this guy has been on the pole 3 times here at Sonoma in 13 starts. So, he does have some good stats here. He doesn't have a win, but I definitely think it's time that, number 1, the old number 1 for Chip Ganassi and Jamie McMurray, this is his type of track, and he definitely has some good history here. I know his average starting position is 13th with an average finish of 16th, but there are some, extenuating circumstances in there in that history. You just can't beat much with a guy only 7,800 this week and with as much experience that Jamie Mack has at Sonoma.
Yeah, dude, look, I completely agree with you. I love Jamie Mack this weekend because, let's not BS. Chip Ganassi Racing has been on fire. They're coming off the Le Mans 24 win last weekend. That team's getting it done, especially on road courses. The problem I have specifically here is that their qualifying run from practice 1 that has both Chip Ganassi cars 1 and 2 actually would have only been good for about 18th and 19th in practice 2 versus the other guys qualifying, which for place differential is awesome, right? If they can move up. I'm totally down for that. The one thing that really worries me, though, about Jamie Mack is he and Tony Stewart got into it in practice 1, and Tony Stewart slammed into the back of his car. Guys, after what Kenseth did, being pissy last year and wrecked one of my cars, we know Smoke has that bad attitude. I could totally see Jamie Mack owning this race and Smoke pulling something like that. That would just, other than that reason, I really don't have a reason to be off of him this week. I like the play, Liehr. There's something that tells me I don't want to make it after he and Smoke got into it earlier. Adrian?
Yeah, I didn't see anything about the practice yet about, him and Tony Stewart. But, you talked about the Le Mans race. I just want to give a shout out to Ashley Hartlett. She was a mechanic on that car. She's Jamie McMurray's mechanic in the Cup Series. She was on the winning car. But, yeah, Jamie McMurray, I like the guy. I mean, he's a pretty good road course driver. He has been kind of consistent his whole career at road courses. I mean, he's never been, a top 5 road course driver, but at that price, he's someone that can pay off in this price, and he's done that mostly this season. And it really just depends on where he qualifies. If he qualifies, outside the top 20, which is possible, I mean, and you got to be all over Jamie McMurray. But yeah, I mean, he's had experience racing these road courses and, decent price. So yeah, I have no reason to not play McMurray.
Yep. I like I said, I love the pick. There's just that gut thing with him and Tony tangling up earlier. And
here's me crossing my fingers that he just something happens and he qualifies for.
Fair enough.
That's
fair
right.
enough. I see you there. I think that transitions nicely to my pick, which is a little bit more chalky, but not chalk for me. I'm playing Kurt Busch this week at 10,700. Look, I know he's the most expensive driver, and look at them both supporting the Monster Energy drink, and there's Kurt. I wish he was cheaper, but I'm hoping his expensive price tag is actually going to drive down some of his ownership this week. Since Gordon left the track and is now in the booth, there are basically 3 drivers who own this Sonoma course, and he's one of them. In 15 races here, he has 7 top 5 finishes. You're not going to find a statistically better driver other than one of the guys we have coming up in the value segment. We'll talk about him just a little bit later, though. He also last year on this track started second, finished second, and led 43 laps. He was actually the number 1 point getter for this track last year. You had to have him to win anything. I definitely think you want to make him as your play this week. Oh, and as icing on the cake, Las Vegas has him as the biggest favorite this week. Follow Vegas, follow the track history, pay up, and play Kurt Busch this week. You won't be disappointed. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, whenever the checkered flag flies, this is what you're going to be seeing at Victory Lane, guys. That's Kurt Busch celebrating a win at Sonoma. This guy is just so good here. I don't see any other driver that can maneuver this track like him other than my guy Jimmy Johnson. Kurt's just so good here, and he has a lot of problems here, but he's proven in the past that he can take bad equipment and finish really well here, like when he finished third in the 51 car a couple years back. So, I mean, I just really like Kurt Busch this weekend. His price tag is really high, which me and Jamie both were kind of annoyed by, but DraftKings saw that he's really good here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, do you want to pay up for him? I think so. What do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, I definitely like Kurt Busch. It's going to hamstring some of your lineups with having him being so expensive at that 10,700 point. Obviously, most expensive he's been all season long. So I think that's going to hinder some of the DFS players for NASCAR on the love for him this week because it's going to hinder some of their lineups that some of the people that they like as well with Kurt Busch. But I'm right there with you. I think you definitely have to have some exposure to Kurt Busch this weekend. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding, boys. He's got a win here. Out of 15 starts, he's got 7 top 5. So, I mean, that's almost at a 50% clip of his total races here. So, obviously he's got some great history here. And I think too that, he really loves racing at this racetrack. And I think he really is one of those types of drivers that you're going to really have to have some decent exposure on him. Now, like most of us, we played multiple lineups. But if you're, playing only 1 or 2 lineups, you're really going to have to contemplate whether you put him on your lineup for this weekend. So my exposure to him, I will definitely have some exposure to him. Not completely 100%.
You gotta have just one though. You gotta just have one though, at least.
Oh yeah, I mean at least. But I definitely think that just depending on where he qualifies. So if he qualifies in the top 5 spot tomorrow when they qualify in the afternoon, that's going to increase my love for Kurt Busch for sure, because I think he will have the ability to kind of move himself right up there and get up there. Now, will he lead 43 laps like he did last year, starting in second? I don't know, but if he gets the pole, by God, yes, I'm going to have really a ton of Kurt Busch on my lineup. So
yeah.
Agreed. Like it's just we were all kind of in agreement. He's just the right play. And I'm going to have a lot more than 1 or 2 lineups exposure to him. I'm majority in on Kurt this week. But that should wrap up the Burning Rubber segment, which moves us along to value, especially since Adrian and I took 2 of the highest paid drivers. Liehr gave you a little bit of value there, but let's get some more value. Adrian, who's your value pick for us this week, buddy?
Oh yeah, this is a guy I've been picking a lot lately, and I told you I wasn't going to stop until he told me not to stop, and he's giving me no reason to stop playing him. I'm picking Kyle Larson, guys, in the number 42. He's a previous K&N West Series winner here at Sonoma, so he knows how to manage the brakes and stuff over a decent length of a race at Sonoma. He's just kind of a talented road course racer. He hasn't had quite the finishes that you would expect from him. The Cup Series so far, at the road courses. But it's just the kind of the same feeling that I've had about Chase Elliott at Pocono and Kyle Larson at Dover. I think Larson will have a sneaky 50-point race.
His price tag basically, gives you the ability to put him in a lot of lineups only at 8,300. But he is coming down from his price from last week. But as far as his history here, like you said, he's got some really good history at Sonoma, not necessarily on the Sprint Cup circuit, but he definitely has the kind of history overall as a race car driver especially too with him racing in Outlaws and all that, kind of racing on dirt and, just the experience that you have to really get yourself in the area where you can take a win. But it's just one of those things where when it comes to Kyle Larson, he's only got 2 races here in the Sprint Cup, but unfortunately he's had some issues with it, where he started 3rd and finished 28th, then started 4th and finished 15th. But that's all in gaining the experience of going and being in the Sprint Cup Series and going to all these races and getting the exposure that you need to all these tracks. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have some Kyle Larson on my teams, and also too, I mean, with every single driver that we have here, fellas, it's really going to depend on where they start at. But if he's going to be one of those types that starts in the top 10, but is between 5 and 10, I'm really going to holster my love for Kyle Larson. But if he's going to be 20 to 30, even 25 to 30, I will definitely be all about Kyle Larson, especially at that price point of 8,300. But good luck to you this weekend, Kyle.
No, Liehr, I thought that was a brilliant explanation. That's exactly the way I'm viewing him and Jamie Mack, in all honesty. They're top 5 cars, I'm all over it, right? If they're basically 5 to 15, I'm going to taper my expectations for both of them. If they're sub that, I'm playing them because of their place differential potential. I just love the way you put that, and I wanted to re-stress that for all you guys out there. That's the right thinking for DFS fantasy. Like, that's what you need to do with these drivers. There are, especially with us doing this before qualifying, there is a right range. Sometimes it can be at the high end, sometimes it can be at the low end. The worst spot is that kind of middle ground where you don't want to end up. So, Liehr, who you got for us to value this week, buddy?
All right, boys. As much as it painstakingly makes me feel to make this pick, he is a Midwest guy. But I'm going with the number 15, Clint Boyer. I know, obviously, being an H. Scott equipment, it's not necessarily the equipment that he's been used to, in the past. But the guy is just an awesome road racer. In 10 starts at Sonoma, he's got 1 win that occurred back in 2012 with the 5-hour energy Michael Waltrip vehicle. Started 6th, finished 1st, and then he's basically had a top 10 finish with 8 of his 10 races. So, I mean, that's just unbelievable history here, and 6 top 5s out of 10 starts. But when it comes to driver averages overall, who are the active drivers, he's the top dog. His average finish is 8.6 out of 10 races. So with that 1 win, and he's got 82 laps led. So at a track that only has 110 laps for a total race, that's pretty good. So, but my hopes are, with him this weekend is that, he was practicing okay. It was basically the mid 20s. But my hopes is that he really has a poor qualifying run tomorrow during qualifying. And then I'm going to be seriously 100% all in on Clint Boyer this weekend. And especially, too, when you look at his price tag, not very many other drivers with his domination here at Sonoma being only 7,700. So he's right there with Jamie Mack. But I definitely love Clint Boyer this weekend, and I definitely think that everybody playing fantasy NASCAR on DraftKings this weekend should have a major exposure to Clint Boyer.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you said it right. He's just way too cheap for how good he is at Sonoma. Like, if DraftKings had priced him according to what his track history is at Sonoma, he should have been the driver that's 10,700, right? Like,
yeah, just like AJ Allmendinger when everybody when they always price him, every single week.
Only for the road courses.
Yeah, exactly, and it's kind of the same deal. So
yeah, my main thing is depending on his qualifying position, I'm really worried about his equipment, and we know how important equipment is, especially on road courses. Adrian talked about it a little bit earlier. But like when you're going over those humps and dropping the car and how much you have to use the brakes, and he's had brake issues before this season. I love Boyer, and I feel like I have to own him. I feel like it's the double-edged sword of the fantasy week. Like at his price, you just have to have him. But at the same time, part of me is just like, what happens if he has a brake failure? Then you don't want to be on him at all. And I think that's the most likely scenario with that equipment. Adrian, what are you thinking of, buddy?
Yeah, every week I listen to a podcast that Clint Boyer spotter is on, and a couple weeks back they talked about when's the best chance for their driver to win, and Clint Boyer spotter said that Sonoma was Clint's best chance to win, and he said that's barring that they don't have any brake issues because they've had so many brake issues all season, and it's really hindered their performance all year. So if they can keep from having any brake problems, I don't see any reason they can't finish in the top 15, and I think they're probably going to qualify outside the top 25.
Yeah, and just something I wanted to add real quick that I forgot is they were interviewing Clint Boyer today during the practices, and we were back to happy Clint Boyer. Like, he wasn't angry. He seemed like he was
he gave Jamie the silent treatment.
Yeah,
that's why I'm having a little bit of a disdain for him.
Fair enough, but like I said, it looked like happy Boyer was back. So that might be good news for you, even though like you don't want to make the pick, you kind of have to. I don't know.
Yeah, I like Boyer.
All right, I think that transitions me to a guy I like a little bit better is in a little bit better equipment. But I totally get why Liehr's there, and I love the Boyer play this week. But another guy that I'm on that's in that same price range, as you notice, we floated between 77 and 80 and 87, is Kasey Kahne. Yeah, I know he's 8,600, but in his last two starts here, he started at 25 plus in the position and going 26th to 8th and 30th to 6th. If he qualifies low like he usually does on this track, he will be the smart value play that you have to make and that you have to have on your lineup to win a GPP. Even if he qualifies as high as 15th, which he has once at this track, he'll pay off his salary based on previous performance. That would give you at minimum at least a +9 in place differential with good high-end points. Kasey Kahne is for some reason one of those few drivers that is able to manipulate through the field and work his way through the field on a road course. And if he qualifies low, you're going to have to be on him. Now, Adrian will probably agree with me here, and so will Liehr. If he qualifies too high, I probably won't own hardly any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Kasey Kahne this weekend. If he qualifies outside the top 15, that makes him a play. And I think that's very possible. But, with it being Hendrick equipment, I think it's very good equipment that's going to hold up for the length of the race. And he won this race in 2009 for Richard Petty Motorsports. So, he's got experience winning these things.
Liehr, your thoughts, bud?
I think Kasey Kahne, he's definitely got some good history here. He's one of those type of drivers. You really don't, aim to go out and pick him for your teams most weeks, just because he hasn't been very successful as of late. And it's really surprising because obviously in Hendrick equipment, you think that the guy would be pretty successful in when he goes out each week. But as far as Sonoma goes, it's a little different. I mean, he has started on the pole a couple times here. He does have that one win, like Adrian said, back in 2009 with Richard Petty. But his price tag too is one of those that is appealing. He's got $8,700, which with somebody in a Hendrick equipment, that's always somebody that you could always possibility of need to roster. Again, I just think it just really hinders on where he's going to qualify at tomorrow. But in some of the practices, he was doing fairly well. I mean, he's in the top 10 in the second practice. So I think if he has a really poor qualifying position, it's definitely going to be one of those types of players that I will have exposure to because, what was it, a couple weeks ago where he started in the 29th position, and it was just one of those kind of plays, no brainers, in what we would call a free space. So, but again, I think it just really just hinders on where he qualifies. But King definitely is one of those guys that his history sticks out to you, and somebody that you should be cognizant of.
Yeah, nope. Just solid, dude. Thanks for supporting my pick. All right, guys. Now it's time for everybody's favorite segment where we talk trash on the drivers. It's time to go to the garage. Now, remember, it doesn't have to be that we're actually talking trash on a driver. Could be that we don't like the way DraftKings has them priced. Could be, especially with this week being a road course, that they just aren't a good road course driver. Or maybe it's just this track that is the bane of their existence. But let's get to who Adrian has going to the garage if he's finished with his pizza. Adrian.
Yeah, that was some good pizza. My going to the garage this weekend is going to be Denny Hamlin in the number 11 FedEx Toyota. I understand it's a Gibbs car, and I understand Gibbs has been running really well lately, and I understand it's a Toyota, and Toyota's been really fast. But Denny Hamlin really struggles at Sonoma. He only has two top 10 finishes and 10 Sonoma starts. In the past 6 races at Sonoma, his best finish is 18. I don't really know if that's something you're going to want to pay, $8,000 for. He's gone on record of saying he doesn't like road courses. So, I mean, if he doesn't like racing the races, I don't see how he has a good chance of having any success at these races. And I can recall 2 races where his hood flew up and covered his vision and couldn't drive the car. So he just has really bad luck here too. I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Denny Hamlin is just one of those types of drivers where, I mean, if you look at holistically who Denny Hamlin is, and you see his price tag and you go, ooh, 8,000, like this is crazy. How can I get Denny Hamlin for 8,000? Well, obviously the guys at DraftKings have done a little bit of their research and know what's going on with Hamlin. And he's one of those guys that unfortunately just doesn't do very well here at Sonoma. Average start is 19th, average finish is 22nd, with only one top 5 finish in 10 starts. That's only a 10% clip. So as far as Denny Hamlin is concerned, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be a wait and see kind of guy how he qualifies. But even if he qualifies really, really high, obviously that'll increase his ownership percentage because people should be emphasizing on the place differential guys this week more than the guys that are laps led, because that is going to be more of a premium. But you obviously want a combination of the two. But depending on where he lands at, Hamlin is just one of those types of guys that if you want to get yourself on an island, I have a really good sinking feeling that he's going to be a pretty low percentage owned guy this week. So if he happens to have one of those crazy weeks where he actually performs.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look at his lap times when he was out in qualifying trim, he would have qualified 3rd. And when he was out in race trim, he was running top 5 in time. I think that he's actually if he qualifies in the top 5, but not first, he would be a savvy play contrarian wise. But the problem is his track history here is just garbage. And if you look over the history, he's actually ran good here until he has the equipment malfunction or a pit stop error. And it's really odd. Like, he runs really good, then a brake, or the hood, or the rear tie rod. Like, it various things for him on this track. It seems like he's just the bane of bad luck. I mean, let's put it this way: if I'm going to bet on somebody, I want to that has not necessarily the best track history. I want to do it on somebody that it's happening to for weird reasons, not because they're not a good driver on the track. So I would probably more side with Hamlin like a couple of times, but I'm not going to own him a massive amount by any means.
Speaking about the bane of luck, what about Adrian's boy Trevor Bayne? Practicing 38th right behind Dylan Lupton.
Hey, if he qualifies bad, he's the player. If Trevor goes out there and busts his ass in qualifying, we got a play on our hands.
Yeah, dude. No, I'm like, if he's.
I just had to do the play on words. The bane of his.
Well,
I'm glad someone did.
Well done, Liehr. On that note, Liehr, who's your pick to go to the garage? Oh, we're in cheesy pun land.
Oh yeah. My pick to go to the garage this week, boys. obviously, you guys could tell during practice. I saw as well. But Ryan Blaney, the dude overall this year for a rookie in the Wood Brothers, number 21, he's had a pretty spectacular year so far in 2016. But Sonoma is a different beast, boys and girls. Sonoma is a different type of track. We are going to be turning right this weekend, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely am going with Ryan Blaney this week as my going to the garage pick. Clearly, you could tell in the practices, the guy could not get control of his brakes, especially making the right-hand turns. This is going to be one of those situations where I think he's going to qualify horribly, and I think he's going to finish horribly. And even if he, does happen to move up a few spots, it's not going to be anywhere near the points that you will need to take yourself and get yourself into a tournament win in the GPP. So I know with 7,200, the price tag is a little bit enticing for everybody, but my recommendation for sure is to stay off the number 21 Woods Ryan Blaney vehicle this week.
Yeah, sexy price tag, but wow, was practice 1 and 2 anything but sexy for that car. Literally locking up tires. We were off track several times. I mean, you couldn't. I don't think you could pay me to play Blaney this weekend. He just does not look comfortable in that car. I love the Wood Brothers car, and I love that he's been doing awesome this year. But guys, this week is not the time you want to own him. I firmly believe that, and Liehr's just spot on this one. Adrian, your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Wood Brothers probably more than anyone else because I'm such a Trevor Bayne fan and what they've done for him. But, every great driver struggles at times. And, going to a track for the first time, all the great drivers had those moments. The first time Dale Earnhardt Jr. went to Martinsville, he hit everything on the track. So this is one of those experiences for Blaney. These Cup cars have a lot of power, and he's got to get used to that on a road course. So Blaney's talented. I think he'll figure it out. I think he'll get a top 15, but I think it'll be a hard-fought top 15. I think he will struggle tomorrow or Sunday.
Yep, and I think we're on the same page. And my guy is another one of these guys that had a successful year so far. Been a guy that we've wanted on lineups several weeks to take down GPPs. And you guys know my love for JGR, but you also know that I kind of hate Kenseth a little bit because he cost me a lot of money last year. But Kenseth is just a straight dumpster fire on this track, guys. He is a pile of hot, wet garbage at Sonoma, and I understand that his $7,600 price tag, you are extremely tempted to want to snatch him up. But guys, he could be zero, and at this track, if he does anything, as long as he does what he's done the last 5 times he's raced here, that's negative points. And even at $0, I don't want to roster negative point driver at this track. So the fact that he's 76 and cheaper than he normally is has no appeal to me. Let's just look at some of his. Last year, he went from 3rd to 21st in the race, qualifying 3rd, finishing 21st. The year before, he wrecked and finished 42nd. In 2013, he lost 13 places, going 6th to 19th. And in 2012, he started 9th and finished 13th. None of which pays off the 7,600 price tag even remotely. He only has one top 10 here. It's the easiest fade in the world, in my opinion. Do not, in the words of, I'm going to quote Star Wars here and quote Admiral Akbar, it's a trap. Don't play it, guys. Adrian, what do you think about Kenseth, man?
I think that Kenseth is underpriced this week. 7,600 is way too cheap from that Kenseth. Poppa kept trying to argue with me that Kenseth wasn't going to the garage. I just kept telling him he's Matt Kenseth, and that's really all the argument you need. I know he struggles at road courses, guys, but he's in Gibbs equipment. He's shown that he could finish well on a road course if given the right opportunity. But you got to think about it, who he's priced around. McMurray and Newman and guys like that. And as long as he can finish top 12, top 13 like those guys do, I think that it's a play. I just think because of his price, he becomes in another category of drivers that he wasn't in last week when he was priced with Kyle Busch and all those guys. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I just think because of his price, he's like a B-tier driver this week that you choose from that middle tier of drivers just because he's 7,600.
Yeah, the negative points don't appeal to me. Liehr, your thoughts?
Adrian Woodruff, I love you, buddy, but just wrong this week, my man. I can't roster a guy of Matt Kenseth's caliber this week on a track like this, where he's got the history of just absolute dog crap. I mean, we're talking 16 starts. That's almost as many as anybody in the whole circuit and racing on Sunday who's had the most exposure to this track. He's got 0 wins, 0 top fives, 1 top 10 out of 16 races. That's at a 6.2% clip. I guarantee that he is not going to produce any points on Sunday. Just one of those guys where I know, I mean, $7,600. You're like, oh my God, I can get Matt Kenseth for $7,600 this week.
That's what I said.
It's just going to be unbelievable. It's going to be crazy. But there's a reason why DraftKings has him at $7,600 is because Matt Kenseth is not a road course racer. The guy just does not produce well on the road courses. I mean, it's just like, if I can,
he gets wrecked.
If I can, well, I mean, yes, he does have his fair chances of getting wrecked, like especially like when him and Carl Edwards, got together a lot.
And Dale Jr. drove him off the track.
Yeah, and it's one of those things but this can happen to anybody, especially at this type of track where like last year where Truex and David Reagan got into each other, and where Reagan went his right fender into Truex's left quarter panel and just turned him out, went right into the tires. Like,
yeah, he said I had to wreck him. He was blocking me.
Yeah, like it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be fun to watch. But when it comes to Kenseth this week, I just can't roster a guy like that. And it's gonna be hard for me to put him on any rosters. But if he qualifies stupid, ridiculous high, in the mid 30s, yeah, okay, I might have to have 1 or 2 exposures on him. But that's with anybody that's going to qualify of that magnitude at that end. But if I could kind of compare it to anything, it's like in Tommy Boy, where he's like, you want to buy brake pads? Here, I'll tell you to buy some brake pads. It's like, I'm going to take my car and we're going to drive down the road.
Good car to pick, Jamie. I like that car.
And there's going to be a right-hand turn, and I can't stop. Speed wagon, woo, woo, woo. Guy in the corner from the ambulance is going, oh my God. You guys in the corner puking his guts out. Bleh, bleh. All because he wanted to save some money on a driver. And you see, get out. Do not play Matt Kenseth this week.
You gotta play Matt Kenseth. He's the play.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to use
Adrian's trying.
I had to use the Trevor Bain.
It's a good choice. Good choice.
The certified
2013 Cargill Ford Mustang.
Nationwide, yeah. So
I'm pretty sure Adrian's trying to go all Rain Man on this pick, but dude, there's just like you can't get around the stats. I don't care what his price is. He literally was negative the last 5 races here. And the other stat that I left out, guys, is he is tied for the most road course races without a win at 32. 32 road courses without a win. Like, that's crazy. There's only one other driver that has that many, and that's Dale Jr. The only difference is Dale Jr. actually runs good. He actually finishes top 5, including, like, he's a driver that you could look at to own this week, as he has 2 top 10 finishes in the last 2 races here. I would look that route.
He's practicing really fast.
Yeah, and he was sitting on the pole right now if, like, the pole is to be practiced 1 or 2. So, like, that would be the route, like, I would go and just pay more money. Like, don't fall into the Kenseth trap, guys. I can't preach it enough. All right.
Fall in, boys. Fall in. Fall in line. Fall in line.
Now's a segment of our show where we put together a lineup that will actually be in the contest this week. You'll be able to see it in the $5 The Lug Nut Tournament. Let's get to it, kids. Who do we have for the Lug Nut this week? Where are we going to start off? Hey, Liehr, start us off this week, buddy.
Really, boys, I'd want to, honestly, I know my pick was McMurray for my Burning Rubber, but I'm right there with AW. I like the Jimmy Johnson, so I think he's going to be one of the main staples that I roll with this weekend. So my vote is Jimmy.
All right.
I agree.
Jimmy Johnson's the play. Yeah, let's see. I think that they, like, in order to fill out right now, like, keep in mind, guys, qualifying hasn't happened yet. That's what, like, we've told you this the whole show. So this is basically track history and just like how we watch practice 1 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and throw Kane on the team. I just think that's the right play here with the salary we have remaining. That leaves 7,800. Adrian, who's your first guy that you want to put on this team with Johnson and Kane?
I think we kind of keep going the same route. I like Kyle Larson.
That's 8,300. We're starting to lose a little bit of money. We're down to 76. There's still some guys we can do, but we're not putting Kenseth on this lineup no matter what. Liehr, I think you're going to put us in the right.
But we probably should, though.
No,
in all honesty, we probably should. Viewers, you probably should.
You know what? If Kenseth does well and just destroys track history and beats me, that's the week that I'm okay lighting my money on fire. Like, if that's how I get beat, that's how I get beat.
I am going to say this, though, real quick.
All right.
I do have to give the old Adrian Woodruff, some credit. The guy has been on fire with his picks the last 3 weeks or so in a row. And he's been picking the guys. He's been picking the guys that you've been needing. Poppa and I have had some sprinkles here and there, but AW's definitely been all over it with his burning rubber and his values. So, but yeah, my pick would be Clint Boyer.
Yeah, I was going to say we have to just put that on there. All right, that leaves us 7,600 for the next 2 drivers. What I'm going to recommend we do is look down here and grab one of the cheaper drivers. There's several of them that are running good. I think the choice really is between David Regan Smith, in that range, maybe even Carpentier.
You're reaching right there. I don't know. I mean,
you think I'm reaching too far?
In the Nationwide, or now the Xfinity Series, Danica actually ran pretty well if we put Danica on the team. I know most people don't want to play Danica, but she's actually a pretty good road course racer because she used to race IndyCar.
Fair enough, dude. And I'll back you up there. What terrifies me is she was running where she would qualify like 5th. And I'm sorry, bro. That's a no-go.
But like I said, it all depends on qualifying. I mean, if she qualifies 5th, obviously no. But you know, Papa's Danica rule: if she qualifies worse than 25th, she's a play. And
I agree.
If she does, then she is.
I will agree with that this week. If she definitely qualifies worse than 25.
Well, I mean, if you have this much money left, I don't think she's a bad play. I want to tell everybody about my sleeper players, Michael McDowell. He's a really good road course racer, and every time Kyle Busch Motorsports needs a fill-in driver, he's always the one they pick.
All right, so, dude, if we throw the McDowell play on, that leaves us basically 9,800, and we can pick everyone but Kurt or Harvick to put on this team. So let's roll that.
I will say this.
Let's roll that.
The 95 does have some good luck rolling into this weekend because they just did announce that they got some new sponsorship on the 95. So
and they've been practicing. They've been practicing really fast.
Yeah, dude, guys, let's just let's us round it out. Let's throw Earnhardt on this team since he's been destroying it. That lineup's good, and basically it's built for Earnhardt to win, not for Kurt Busch to win, right? And like you can make a variation of this with Kurt Busch. You're gonna have to come down off of Larson to Jamie Mack to do it, or come down off Boyer, or come down off McDowell. But you can make it work with mostly that core. But I think that's a good lineup, guys, and that you can compete against that in the 30K lug nut this week. So remember, guys, like we do this to show you how to build a lineup and the process that you want to do putting a lineup together. Don't copy that lineup. Make a variation of some kind, guys. And with that said, I think it's time to wrap up the show for this week and get us all out of here. Adrian, let's let you say your goodbyes, brother.
Yeah, guys, Sonoma Raceway is my favorite track on the circuit, like I said. Really excited for the race on Sunday. Qualifying is going to be very important, so don't set your lineups and forget about them before qualifying. So watch qualifying. Saturday is going to probably be over about 5 p.m. Eastern or so. Give it a watch so you can know the place differential, guys. Other than that, thanks for watching, and we hope you'll continue to join us every week.
All right, Liehr, get us out of here, man.
All right, fellas and ladies out there. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for watching the show. We really appreciate it, especially to you that are still watching right now all the way through this almost hour-long show. But this is going to be one of my sleeper picks for the weekend. I thought I'd just throw it out there. A little David Reagan action. He's pretty cheap this weekend.
And McDowell.
But also too, I also wanted to. We were gone for the last couple of weeks, but I just want to give some love to my son Jackson. He turned 3 last Sunday on Father's Day. So happy birthday, son! Love you, and thanks everybody for watching the show. Make sure you hit us up on Twitter, YouTube, fantasydonks.com. Subscribe. Also, don't forget that Greg Biffle car is still up for anybody that comments and likes. If we get 1,000 views, so keep it coming. Share with your friends and everybody else that you know.
Yeah,
but have a great weekend.
Not if, but when we get the 1,000 views, we'll be giving away that autographed Greg Biffle Cheez-It SpongeBob SquarePants awesome car. And with that said, guys, I want to thank everybody, including our international audience. We are international now. We've got French viewers and some Canadian viewers. Hopefully even some French Canadian viewers for our friends north of the border.
Français.
All right. Have a good weekend, y'all. Let's win some money. And remember, guys, like, share, favorite, subscribe, and keep engaged with us on YouTube. That'll be the best way to get our opinions on the updated qualifying. Later, guys. Have a good one.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks, guys.